Welcome to the Run Radio podcast. My name's Trina, and my guest today is Jonna Volz with Acting for Real. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
So, in my little networking tribe of people, I know Billy. Billy Wiegand has a studio where she does film and video, and we got to looking at each other's posts and everything, and I saw Acting for Real, and I was like, what is that? She had this cool picture. I could see you behind the scenes, so I went to check it out, and you do a lot of stuff. Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, as far as working with Billy, she and her husband, he came to me years ago looking for a coach. He wanted to explore acting a little bit more because he had just kind of started up his production company. And and so we got to work together, and then we ended up writing something. I do a lot of collaborative writing, and then I pulled in some crew, some guys that I knew to shoot for him, and then, yeah, we made a thing, and then he carried on with his life. His Facebook is good about letting you sort of stay in touch on the outskirts of someone's life. And then these workshops that I do, they're on camera workshops for actors so that they have professional content for their acting reel. And they're designed to look like a real production, as if you got cast in an actual commercial or a TV show or a film. So I had another one of those earlier this year, and I was looking for a cinematographer, and I remembered that he had a production company, and I've been following, him and Billy on their journey. And so I was like, guys, can you film this for me? And they're like, yeah, we're in. And they were able to work with my budget, and so it was awesome. They've shot the last two that I've done in Springfield area. Specifically commercial focused acting reels, well, and some scenes as well, but they're great to work with.
Very cool. How did you get into all of this stuff? Because I looked a little bit about your bio and saw Nashville, but then I also know that you've got ties in Springfield, which is not really conducive for doing some of the big acting things that a lot of people are interested in. So how did you start?
Well, I was a kid in Nashville. My dad he still is, but was very heavy into the music entertainment. Like he's in the Christian rock world. Yeah. And so he was touring all the time. And my mom was working and helping his band as like a road manager, tour manager. And so myself, I'm the oldest of four. She just wanted us to stay busy. So she just got us into stuff like most kids, even kids in Springfield, Missouri. It's like they're doing, Springfield Little Theater, or they're doing things at school. They're getting involved in dance studios. So we were dancing, and we were in community theater and performing. And I think that my mom must have just seen some kind of spark or something, or basically every time I would do another play, or I would do another dance performance, or we ended up doing studio work. I started working in voice acting when I'm like 12. I mean, very young, because we got pulled in to be like the voice actors for musicals that were recorded in a studio. So basically back in the day when we had cassettes and albums in the in the 80s, we would record, and then they would package them up, and they would, youth groups would buy them, and they would either sometimes watch the video example of how they could do it at their church, or they would hear the actual musical. We'd act it out and sing it. And it was like a musical on a cassette. Yeah. But so we just kind of kept having those opportunities. And eventually my mom set up a situation where I auditioned for an agent when I was 14, and they signed me. And then I started auditioning for more things. And I was booking stuff. The thing I'm most famous for, I'm not really famous, but this character is famous. Okay. is a music video. It's a country music video that Reba McEntire filmed. It's her song Fancy.
Okay.
And it's like one of her most famous songs, and also music videos. And I starred in the music video with her. And so I played Fancy, she played Fancy, and she like closes all of her concerts down with this song. The video was like on The Voice recently. I mean, it's just, I don't make any money off of it, but it's just cool. It's out there. I know. It's like you do a music video and then
Yeah.
you're like, bye, I'll just sit right here. But because of that, like I just, when I was a young kid, I just started working. I started doing, my agent got me auditions. I booked a couple TV shows and went to high school for acting, went to college for acting. So I just kind of, I liked it. And so I kept
Yeah.
it.
That is really neat. Okay, first of all, was your what band was your dad in, or was he solo?
Yeah, no, he is in a band called Petra.
Of course, yes, I've heard of them. I did Christian radio for a while, so I was wondering if they might have been on our playlist, but they were a little bit harder rock, weren't they?
Yeah, he was
Or
the one
Christian
in the
radio.
late, like from the late 70s into the mid 80s. So it was rock and roll. I mean, some of it was a lot softer. And then when he left, his name's Greg X Volz. When he left, John Schlitt became the lead singer, and their style changed just a little bit, but it's always been rock and roll. I mean, it totally shook the whole church scene. They were like, didn't even know what to do with it. It's a
Yeah.
really great story. They're in the Gospel Music Hall of Fame as the fathers of Christian rock. So
Very cool. Very cool. Oh,
yeah,
I'd love to have him on as well if he's interested in, because we try to play a lot of indie musicians, and I like getting musicians' stories out there on runradio.net. So that's an interesting tie. Were you interested in singing and doing the music thing at all?
we did, with theater and stuff, we did music, and like I said, we would do the voiceover, the studio
Yeah.
stuff. We'd sing. I had a voice teacher. I always enjoyed singing. My mom got me a coach, but I wasn't like doing anything with it besides just performing on stage
I
in
see.
school. And fast forward, I had my first daughter when I was 19, and just kind of took a break to be a mom, got married, had 5 kids
Oh my goodness.
by the time I was 28. So I was definitely in my 20s in mommy land. But there was a time, my husband at the time, he's a drummer. And so we'd always like fantasize about, let's start a jazz band, let's do this. So I'm always like singing around the house, right? But it was like, I think my youngest had been born in 2003, and I just was given a guitar, and I decided to teach myself how to play. And so that was the first time that I started hearing lyrics and melodies that went along with the guitar, and started writing songs.
Oh, cool.
And that was a really cool journey. And then, years later, I was living in Los Angeles, 2009. I was divorced by then, but I met a man who was my longtime boyfriend for a while. He's songwriter. So working with him in Los Angeles, like he was like my muse. I was his muse. He's like, your song's not really finished. Let me teach you more about structure. And he had a home studio. So we were writing songs all the time and recording them. And he was playing out a lot. So I was singing with him. But it was just something that kind of like never really went anywhere, because I wrote the songs kind of for therapy.
Yeah.
But I've sang, in cover bands. I had my own little band for like a hot minute, the Jonna Band, where I would do
Fun.
covers. My sister Heather Volz, she lives in Springfield, and she's been the lead singer of so many cover bands for probably 2 decades in the area. So I love it. My friends have asked me if I'm going to release my music on, wherever you release it. And I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, you can do that now. It's a lot easier now.
Yeah.
Sure, I will.
Yes. You should. You
Yeah,
should go
so
for it.
it's something that I love. It's something that I wish I had more time, but
Yeah.
it's like when I was 16, I was a ballet dancer at Nashville City Ballet, and I was also a professional actor, and I
Oh my
was going to
goodness.
public school. And my mom was like, you have to pick.
At some point, you got
Not enough time. Even the nanny can't even get you everywhere at one time. So because I had booked a couple of TV shows and they had paid me money, I was like, I guess I'll just be an actor, I guess.
I'll just.
So, which is of course it's a whole journey, but it's kind of the same thing with music. A lot of actors who are also really talented musicians, it's like it's hard to put your whole self into both careers at the same time. It's
Yeah.
like you're going to have to push into one, and then one might lead to the other, in some fashion. And I have a number of actors that were in my acting studio who were also recording artists, and I would help them by directing their music videos and coaching them on the performance. And it goes together, but it's hard to do both at the same time for a career.
Yeah. What was one of your early jobs that we might know you from that you were really excited about?
Well, so Fancy was the one that's the most famous. A lot of
Yes.
people who know country music would know that. This is, again, we're talking the 90s here. So there was a show that Carol O'Connor starred in and produced called In the Heat of the Night.
Yes.
So I was a co-star on one episode. The whole episode was about my character
Neat.
getting kicked out. It's on Prime. You can actually watch it on Prime.
Cool.
Season 5, episode 10, I think. And then I was in a show that Sam Waterston produced and directed called I'll Fly Away. It
Okay.
was like I think it only had 2 seasons. It was like a 1950s courtroom drama, because Sam Waterston likes courtroom dramas. So I got to be directed by him in that
Cool.
show. It was like like a day player, but I learned a lot. I still use the things that Sam Waterston taught me whenever I'm teaching my actors. Then when I went to Orlando when I was a kid, I was on Clarissa Explains It All,
Yes.
and I was on a show called Welcome Freshman a few times as a love interest of one of the leads. And it's little things like that. And then when I moved to LA in 2009, I ended up I did background when I first got there. I hadn't really done that before, but my cousin said, "Do background." And I was like, "What? What is that? What do
Yeah.
you do?" And so I ended up getting on a whole bunch of like huge TV shows and giant, like huge movies, working getting to watch all of these big celebrities just like up close, like just learning, getting paid to learn. And there was this one show that I got pulled in as what they call core, like a core 10, where I was on every single episode for the 2 seasons it ran. And then they assigned me a character.
Hmm.
I didn't have lines, but they would feature me and be like, "This is your reaction shot when the thing." But so I got to work with Portia de Rossi,
Oh,
um,
neat.
and I played her secretary.
Wait a
Um,
second. Was this the one that was Better Off Ted?
mhm.
I loved that show. My husband and I got the biggest kick out of the show and was so disappointed. Didn't last very long, did it?
I know. I know, it was only 2 seasons. I feel like
Yeah.
when the AD would bring the script into the area where we were kind of hanging out, holding, we would read, he'd always have us, he'd pass out the script and let everybody have a turn, like reading the character. So we knew what was happening that day
Yes.
on set. And it was always funny. We were always laughing out loud whenever, and it was interesting because Andrea Anders, she's on that too. And then she's also the wife on Ted Lasso. Like
Okay. Oh,
got
okay.
so it's kind of neat because I worked with her up close, and then Jay Harrington. It was just really cool because the crew on that show, they were so like welcoming, and because we worked so closely together, I was talking to them on a regular basis, got to know the director, became friends with the AD, like just really learned so much working on that show, as an
Neat.
actor and also on the production side of things. So it was a good experience.
So at what point did you kind of pull away from that and decide to do more teaching and coaching?
That was like divorce related, personal stuff, where my ex-husband, we were all in Los Angeles, and then they decided to move back to Springfield. And so
Okay.
it was just like, didn't want to be in 2 different states. I'm like, well, I guess I'm moving back to Springfield because my family's
Okay.
there. So it was just like, I don't know what I'm going to do while I'm there, but I'll go live with my mom for figure it out.
I
I don't know.
wondered what the tie to Springfield was because it's different. I mean, but I think with technology and with like how you're helping people, I think we have more opportunities than ever.
Yeah.
But kind of talk about that, having opportunities and what a person needs to do if they want to get into the industry.
How long is this podcast?
Real? I mean, we may have to have you back for sure, but yeah, try.
Sum it up in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
How do you start an acting career in five
Really,
minutes?
5
Ready, go.
minutes.
Well, what happened was when I moved back in 2013, I had all of this, I'd been on set, had booked some commercials. I was working as an event planner in Beverly Hills, just producing events, rock star parties and things. So that's the first time that I learned that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a producer. This is what producers do. I was just doing everything from A to Z. And so and I was also teaching kids in this music school. So when I first moved back, I ended up working for School of Rock with Jennifer Jester when they opened that up, and I started up the toddler music program, and that was really cool. I
Yeah.
did that for a few years, and that around 2015, I was like, I don't know, what happened was this. My mother had a friend, and her friend called her and said, Becky, my daughter wants to be a movie star. I want to get her coaching. Do you know anybody? And my mom was like, well, I mean, Jonna's a professional actor. So, I mean, I could like hook you guys up. So I ended up having this one student. I think she was 12 years old. And I ended up, I was like, well, I don't want to like teach her at my house. So I guess I ended up getting a place at the Creamery Arts Center, like community
Yes.
art. Worked out, so I could like have a class there. Ended
Mhm.
up inviting some other people to be a part of it. Um, and that started it.
Wow.
All of a sudden, I'm like, well, I guess I'm teaching now. And then I was like, I guess I should have a website, and I guess I should concentrate like on what my curriculum is. And so I put the word out there, and the timing was interesting because there was an acting teacher in Springfield who'd been there for a long time named Scott Arthur Allen, and he ran the Creative Actors Studio, and he had just died. And I
Mm.
knew him, and I'd been in his class. I'd seen him work. We collaborated on stuff, and I thought to myself, "Oh my gosh! Like Springfield doesn't have an acting coach for film anymore." And I'm like, well, I guess I could do it. I mean, I know some stuff. I've been doing
Yeah.
it for
Yeah.
30 years. I might as well, I don't know. So I put it out there, and then people started coming, and that began the beginning of what I call my lab rat series of, I just like actors would come. I'm like, listen, I'm just testing this out on you. You're going to pay me, and then I'm going to test
Yeah.
out what it's like to get all the things I have in my head and get them out. Um, and it started working, and actors started booking, and they started having success, not only in the local scene, but beyond. And that gave me confidence to be like, well, I guess I know something. And
Yeah.
I enjoy like seeing, like, I tell you, try it this way, and then they succeed. It's like I also win. It's such a cool feeling, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself staying on the path with doing the teaching for a while, or are you just going to see how it works and maybe do more acting too? Is there a plan?
Yeah, there's a plan. So what it was when we moved back, the kids were in school, so it was like, well, I'm not going to really pursue getting an agent outside of here or traveling to do acting work, because I want to be available for my kids' events to, be a part of that time. And so during that time, it made sense just to stay put, share with what I had. And then I got involved with the student films at Missouri State University, which was an incredible opportunity because those kids were so talented.
Hmm.
And then my other friends were making movies, and my friend Sarah Kessinger, who's a producer, she invited me to cast a feature film that was a union feature film that came to Missouri in 2015. It all happened like at the same time. And so I was like, sure. So it kind of launched my casting director company, which is Green Glass Casting, while I was also teaching. And then I would have my friends would say, hey, we've got these commercials, like, will you come and act? So I was acting in independent films, acting in commercials. And then I was trying to be in the community theater world like once a year. The more my acting studio schedule got busy, the less time I had to do community theater because the schedules just conflict. But I tried to just stay active, not only teaching acting, but doing it at the same time. So it was just sort of my goal. So I could always be putting myself on display as an actor. So if people are like, well, you're really not that good. So I'm like, cool, then don't learn from me. But if you thought I did a good job and I'm teaching, then maybe that will give you some confidence that I can teach you as well. But so all the kids are moved out, they're all grown, they're, doing their own thing. And a lot of them, 4 of them moved to Florida. So I decided to move down to Orlando to be closer to them. And since I just do casting in Missouri or the Missouri area or work projects that my friends are working on, but I don't really market myself as a casting director. It's just like people just know, call Jonna, she'll take care of it. But so I decided to get an agent down here. I got a commercial agent, and so I'm auditioning constantly, and I'm actually booking stuff and getting paid. And like I have a shoot on Friday, and so that feels good. So the next step for me is to get myself back into film as an actor, because I also enjoy directing. I've directed some independent films, which it's an amazing experience. I want to keep doing that, but it's sort of like just time for me to take my own advice, all the things I'm teaching the actors. I'm just like, I'm 48 years old, and it's like, it's a great age to get lots of really good roles. So I can write, I can write screenplays. So, worst case, I write my own movie that I'm starring in, and I raise the money and I produce it.
Excellent. I love it. I love hearing when people like to help other people make their dreams come true, and also who are not afraid to blaze their trail to make their dreams come true. It's amazing. Now, are you mostly a teacher, or do you help people, like you mentioned, agents? Do you help people find their agent? What do people need to do when they're trying to find an agent? How do they know if they need an agent?
So part of what I teach is the business of acting.
Okay.
So I call myself a fast track coach because I teach you how to package yourself as an actor to get the attention of agents and managers, casting directors, things like that. I don't, I know a few agents here and there. I mean, the one that I have, I like them, and I've recommended them to a couple people. And people have asked me a number of times, they're like, Jonna, why don't you start an agency in Southwest Missouri? I was like, because if I'm an agent, I can only represent this many people. If I'm a casting director, I can help all of the people, and I can work with all of the production companies. So it gives me an opportunity to advocate for more. So what I do is I specialize, my workshops are in for your acting reel, like what I did for Tyler, is how to show them that you can act, because it's cool. You say you can act, great, prove it. Prove it. I mean, resumes and IMDb are even not that relevant anymore. I mean, it's good to have, because we do, when we're as casting directors, we're like, oh, I know them. Oh, you've learned with them. Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that movie. That's good. Oh, so you actually know how to ride a horse. Like, these things are important for us to know, but we're not really going to be that interested unless we see you acting well. So you can have a strong acting reel and a very, very tiny resume, and book something, that can change your career.
Amazing. Okay, that's good to know. What other things would you say to anyone that's thinking about trying it? Maybe they are in the Midwest and don't feel like they have access. What would you say to that person?
Well, I mean, being specifically in Southwest Missouri, one thing that actors need to be prepared for if they want to get into a bigger market is to travel.
Okay.
So you can submit to projects that are out of town all the time. There's just things that you've got to look for. Does the project pay for your travel? Does it pay for your boarding? And I know a lot of actors who will travel on their own dime and volunteer just to be a part of something to build their resume and get connected. Because here's the thing, this is a referral based industry.
Oh,
It
okay.
is like, it is who you know. And what that means is, I mean, you still have to like work your way up the ladder, but like,
Mhm.
you know, I'm as a producer, like I've directed films, I've starred in, you know, independent films, I've commercials, blah, 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 whatever. Well, I come to Orlando, it's a brand new network for me. I'm starting at
Yeah.
the bottom. I
Yeah.
mean, for the most part, like I'm like, I'll
Right.
volunteer to do crafty on your independent film. I'll take half a day, I'll take half of what I would normally get paid to go work on this because I need to expand my network. So there is a
Okay.
time when you're in the beginning of your career that you will be volunteering and you will be getting paid a lower rate just to build your experience, to build your resume. Because if you put it on your resume, someone's going to ask you, oh, really? Okay, cool. So whenever you did that, they'll ask you questions. And if you're lying and you didn't really do it,
Oh.
you will get caught and people will remember that. And they were like, you know what? I'm gonna let some people know that probably don't want to hire this person. I've had so many directors ask me as a casting director, well, what do you think, Jonna? Because most of the time casting directors are just collecting. They're just really good at finding people and delivering them for consideration. There's so many times I've had directors say, you know, have you worked with them before? Do you know them? I'm like, yeah, actually I have. This audition was not their best work, but I guarantee you if they when they show up on set, I know they're going to be solid. And they're really professional. They take direction well, and I love working with them. And they're like, cool, booked.
Oh, wow. Yeah. What about people that want to get into more of the voice side of things when it comes to acting and voiceovers, commercials, that kind of thing? Because you can do that more remote.
Yeah, you can. Well, the biggest thing is the packaging again. It's like you have to have a reel. You have to show them what you can do. The challenges with voice acting is I mean, it's not a ton of money. You've got a nicer one than I do, but you know, you've got to have your home system. You've got to learn how to edit. Yes,
Hmm.
sometimes you will go to other people's studios, but it's so rare these days that even as actors, like you have to learn how to be an editor and like a little mini producer of your own stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got to find, you know, do some research on which platforms work well for the computer that you have. You've got to get a microphone. You can get $100, you know, Yeti.
Yeah.
Make sure I use a GarageBand, you know, you've got your, you know, get your pop screen, you know, just have
Yep.
all your gadgets, have your setup. You've got to consider the space that you're in. I have a lot of friends who who are professional, well-paid voice actors who have their studio set up in their closet.
Yeah.
Like literally, I've been on Zoom with them and they've got their moving blanket hanging all around them, and then they're like, "Hold on, let me get my shirt real quick," and they like pull their their curtain back, and that's where their studio is because it's the quietest place in the house. So
Yeah.
you have to educate yourself on um what it takes to just technically capture your beautiful and amazing voice, you know. And then you got to think about what what does your voice lend to. You know, I do a lot of commercial voiceover, I do a lot of educational stuff. um I'm the voice of the National Headache Foundation, and that's like long form, like it's so many you need to know that your mouth has to have exercises too. So many kids these days, and I think it's just a texting culture, they talk so fast, like they can't get the all of the words out because their brains are just moving so fast,
Oh,
and
wow.
they're not talking to each other, looking each other in the eye. um it's like a fraction of what our generation, you know, experienced. And so they have to practice talking. You need to speak. You need to understand how to form the sounds in a way that people can hear you. But then, like, everybody is like, I want to be in a video game. Everybody wants to be a video game voiceover because that's fun and exciting. Well, you guys are in competition with movie stars.
Yeah.
You're in competition with stars because they do too. Also,
Yeah.
audiobooks. Audiobooks are amazing. They're exhausting. You know, like when you're doing long form, like you need to practice reading out loud on a regular basis, and practicing cold reading. And so that now we're talking about performance. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
there's the technical stuff, but now there's the performance stuff and understanding how to just sound like a normal person with real feelings. And that's where the basics of acting technique come in. You need to take an acting class because all of that
Yeah.
translates into your performance. Commercial has a specific technique, audiobooks has a technique, video games, it's all very specific. The genres are expansive, but all of them require talent. And so I say, find copy. There's edgestudio.com has a script library. It's a great resource where you can find voiceover scripts that have all sorts of, from dramatic stuff to comedic stuff, 15-second stuff to 1 minute long. But your voiceover reel doesn't need to be longer than a minute, and that's a minute of multiple things.
Yeah.
So like the flips that you're doing, the different voices, the different styles, they don't need to be longer than 15 seconds each. Because I can hear you say 3 words and I can know already if you're the person that I want.
Interesting. Yeah.
And this is the same thing with acting, as a casting director, working with directors, like watching these acting reels and also auditions. It's like, sometimes before they even said anything, just the way that they pretentiously emoted, I was like, skip, nope. I didn't even need to hear them talk. I was like, never mind. They're not, nope.
They're not it. You just know.
I just know. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I would love for you to come back and we could break down even more if you have time. I know you are very busy. Tell people where they can go to learn more and get in touch with you.
Well, I have my website, Acting for Real, FORREAL, like for real, like real guys, like real acting.
Real.
And that's where I'll post if I have any special events. There is a film festival coming up in Cape Coral, Florida. So if anybody's in the area, that's going to have a lot of education. Myself, there's some other casting director, talent agents, and people that work in production. So that's a family friendly film festival. It's a young film festival. And then I'm working on an acting workshop up in Virginia later this fall. And then I'm looking at coming back to Springfield. And so if I have an acting workshop that's open to the public, then it would be on the website. And then you guys have an opportunity to sign up. The workshops that I do that are in person are very limited. Like I usually keep them very small because it just takes time to get everybody on camera.
Yeah.
So you'd have to jump in on that pretty quickly. And then you can always hit me up, just leave me a message on my website, Jonna@actingforreal.net, shoot me an email. I do have a few private coaching students, again, very limited, but I am happy to help you kind of figure out where to start.
All right. And then your personal website, just in case somebody sees this, they want to hire you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, so there's that. So Jonna K. Volz, KAE, JonnaKVolz.com. There is a movie coming to Missouri, the Lake of the Ozarks. It's actually now slated to shoot in the spring. And I will be, it's called At Niangua's End. And I will be doing the casting for that and coaching the lead actors for that. And so, keeping an eye out for opportunities, once we actually have the green light to start pre-production. Yeah. But yeah, I'm available as an actress, mom roles, crazy lady roles, nurse, I don't know, whatever. Whatever. Yeah. I will travel. All my kids are grown. I live right next to the airport. I can hop on a plane and be anywhere in a day.
Awesome. I love it. Like I said, please come back, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, Jonna Volz, Acting for Real. Be sure you're watching and listening at runradio.net.